So my name is Carole McCluskey. I work for a company called TrueBlu. We're a global staffing firm located in Tacoma, Washington.
And what's your job there?
I'm the Chief Information and Technology Officer.
And please describe a typical day at your job.
Well, my job in the role that I play as an executive overseeing technology, a lot of my day is around people. It's around the team that I have and the work that they're doing and how they're supporting our customers, our internal stakeholders. So all these big technology projects that they're running. So I might have a HR issue that I have to solve, but a lot of my time is also in meetings and planning and working with people to think about what's possible with technology for the company.
Describe your favorite type of day.
My favorite type of day is where we're thinking about maybe something around innovation or something new that we want to implement that's going to really be help make everybody's job easier. So we might be thinking about, gosh, we've got all this old clunky technology and it's so time to get it refreshed. It's expensive though, so how do we get everybody excited about spending all that money to make it better? And then coming up with a way to do something through technology that no one's ever thought of before. So what could we do that really makes the world different in terms of our life in our jobs? So I get really excited about that.
What is most rewarding about your job?
Well, I have to say that at this point in my career, the thing that I love the most is when I see people who work for me, either people who work directly for me or who are part of the teams under the people that work for me, is when they start to grow. When I watch them, the light bulb goes on in them and they start to really mature in their ability to do their job. Or that they take on new responsibility and that they have success in their projects or developing their people, or it's amazing when I see people who work for me become successful, and that's really why I do what I do these days.
Has that changed over the years?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think when you first start, especially as a technologist, it's all about the work you're doing, that kind of cool thing that you're building, and the challenges that you have technically, like you want to build a widget and you want to see that widget come to life. And as you grow, and especially if you do what I did, where you go into a place where you become an architect and you think about technology solutions, and then you think about the people who are building it, and then ultimately you're really managing people and budgets and big projects. So yeah, I went away from thinking about myself and what I was building to my team and what value we're bringing. And so it's a very different focus because I'm not the one doing the work anymore. I'm enabling the environment in which people can be successful, which is really exciting.
When you were young, what did you dream of being someday?
Well, I think like a lot of young people, I thought about being all sorts of different things. At one point I thought I was going to be a doctor, and then I realized that blood and guts and things really made me a little sick and I couldn't take that. And then I thought I might be a writer, a journalist. I really enjoyed writing and creating, and but I didn't think I could make enough money if I became a journalist, so I started to think more about technology and found my way into technology. But if I could be anything I wanted to be, truly, I would probably be a writer for Car and Driver magazine.
And why is that?
Because I love cars and I love writing, and I'd love to get every single car that comes out and have the opportunity to drive it and then write about it.
Would you tell me briefly how you decided on becoming a CTO?
Well, it happened kind of accidentally. So I spent the first part of my career really working for technology companies, where I went in and I was one of the people who helped our customers adopt the technology they bought from us. So I did technical consulting and architecture, and I did that for a number of years, kind of ascending into a leadership role around that. And so it was what I consider the sell side of technology. And I did that for a number of years, and then I got kind of burnt out and said, I'm going to go do a different type of work. So I sold myself as a interim executive, and I went into companies and I did turnarounds for them. And they needed a person to come in and maybe revamp the organization or bring in some big change, and they didn't want that to be the person who did the job permanently. They wanted it to be somebody transitional. And I ended up at a company called Redbox. and they needed somebody to help them with some work, and lo and behold, before I knew it, I became their CIO. My career has really been around how to think about the art of the possible. So what is it, these problems that either my customers or my internal employees are trying to solve, and how do we figure that out? And I was always a problem solver, I think, growing up. Someone who thinks big, and like I said, it's the art of the possible. What could we potentially do if we're not limited by our beliefs?
What do you wish you had known before starting your profession?
I think I wish that I had known that it's okay not to have all the answers, that being 20 or 25 or even 30 or 50 or 55, you don't have to always have it all figured out, and that it's okay to make mistakes and not be perfect, and that trying to please everyone isn't really the right path, and to take risk, and it's okay to be afraid.
What advice would you give students who think they want to enter a STEM profession?
I think what I would do is I would look for ways that it becomes personal, but I think it's important that you understand what motivates you, what interests you, the things that may light you up a bit, and then you take math, or you take computer science, or you take one of the other sciences, and you say, gosh, how would this relate to that? So that I can connect them and it becomes more interesting and it's not just abstract. Because sometimes I think when you think about technology or science, it seems very out there. It's not always something that you can relate to the things that you're doing every day. And I think if you can do that, it makes it a lot easier to feel connected and more relevant.
Have you personally experienced barriers, either real or perceived, in your STEM career?
So as a woman, for example, I experienced some barriers in terms of what people's perceptions of what women should do in technology or not. Or I was once paid less, for example, for the same job that another coworker of mine was doing. But I think less about the sort of coming at me barriers. I think my barriers may have been more self-induced because of belief systems that we bring, either things that have happened to us in our past or perceptions that we have about what's possible. Mm-hmm. And overcoming that, I think, has been what's helped me propel my career, is just not getting caught up in that, but knowing that they're there and facing them and kind of getting through them.
Do you have a specific example that you'd like to share?
Well, kind of going back to the example of getting paid less. I found that out, and instead of deal with it in a rational, reasonable way, I blew up and yelled at my boss and quit that day, and not in a very nice way. I always look back and I always say, gosh, if I could take one thing back in my life, it would be the day that I yelled at that guy and thought, that's not the way you work through things.
Why is it important to establish and encourage an environment which fills STEM careers with diverse individuals? Diversity is a really interesting topic, and one that I feel really passionate about, in that oftentimes people think about diversity as the color of somebody's skin, or maybe the country that they came from, or their gender. But also diversity is the way that we think. And so just because you have two people of maybe the same descent and the same gender, they're not going to approach everything the exact same way. They may be completely different. It really changes the way that you approach your work. And if you think about it from a technology perspective, remembering that what you're going to deliver in terms of technology is going to be to this big population of people, hopefully, that are also going to be diverse. In my current job, the people that we serve are hundreds of thousands of people who are looking for jobs. And those people look like, a spectrum of the society. So wouldn't you want your technology organization to look like the people you're going to serve? Absolutely.
That's going to bring you the best result.